Now, notice this contrast as it continues into chapter 46. We've already spent some time talking about idols, but watch the Hebrew symbolism, this poetic form that Isaiah is using here to teach a lesson with painting a picture with words rather than just saying it directly, like we've already mentioned, a Greek literal way of speaking. Look at the beautiful symbolism here, starting in verse 3. Hearken unto me, O house of Jacob, and all the remnant of the house of Israel, which are born by me from the belly, which are carried from the womb. He's doing the carrying. He's doing the bearing. And by the way, just as a side note, a baby has no strength to carry any idols. But God has plenty of strength to carry a baby. Now watch this go to the opposite end. Verse 4, and even to your old age, I am he. For those of you who know how firm a foundation, verse 7 says, and e'en down to old age, all my people shall prove my sovereign, eternal, unchangeable love. And even when gray hairs shall their temples adorn, like lambs shall they still in my bosom be born. It's such beautiful, a beautiful sentiment here of an old man or an old woman. Look at how it continues, verse 4. Even to hoar hairs will I carry you. I have made. I will bear. Even I will carry and will deliver. Did you notice those verbs? What God will do? He'll carry, he's made, he'll bear, he'll carry, and he'll deliver. An aged person doesn't have the strength to carry some of those big, heavy idols, those gods that the world has created. But God has the power from birth all the way down to old age to carry you and to deliver you in his bosom. It's just, the imagery is so beautiful. And in my mind, Isaiah is once again begging me to not put my trust in the idols of the world, but to turn heavenward and let God carry me and deliver me where he wants to take me.
And I think since you mentioned how firm a foundation, we got to go back to the beginning of 43,
Yes,
where we get more of those lines, where he reminds us this, fear not, for I have redeemed thee, I have called thee by name, thou art mine. When thou passest through the waters, I will be with thee, and through the rivers, they shall not overflow thee. When thou walkest through the fire, thou shalt not be burned, neither shall the flame kindle upon thee, for I am the Lord thy God, the Holy One of Israel, thy Savior. And I know some people struggle with descriptions like this because they're feeling like, I do feel like I'm drowning. I do feel like I'm getting burned by life right now. President Nelson, shared that quote, and, that the joy we have has little to do with the circumstances of our lives, and it has to do with the focus of our lives. And I'll be honest, I've struggled with that a little bit because I have some relatives that struggle with mental illness. I've had friends, family, students, neighbors I know that are just going through some really excruciating things. So sometimes I feel like, well, no, it does have something to do with the circumstances of our lives. But the more I've thought about it and the more I've seen what goes on in people's lives, I've really come to appreciate the truth of what President Nelson was trying to teach us, that yes, these things will hurt. But ultimately, in order to overcome them and find redemption in our suffering and ultimate joy even past them, it depends entirely on trusting in the Savior Jesus Christ. He's the key to the comfort that we can find now. He's the key to getting relief from that in the future whenever that comes. He is our Savior, like he says, and he promises that even when we're hurting, he is right there with us. And I think that Isaiah hits that right on the spot here. That no matter what's going on, he is going to make that way for us and redeem us. We have to trust, though, and wait on him like we've talked about, because for a while, sometimes it might not seem like that. And it takes a lot of trust and faith to really pull through with that.
Which, by the way, I have to just say, the greatest spiritual growth that I've experienced has not just come on mountain peaks of revelation. Well, that's wonderful, to be sure. But some of the growth, I've learned lessons that are very different down in the valley of the shadow of death phases of my life than up on the mountain peaks of Revelation portions of my life. And I think God needs us to learn all of the lessons that can only be learned when you're ascending into that hill from on top of that summit, descending that hill, and going through these parts of life. I think the Lord has a way, a path lined out for us, and there are lessons that we need to learn every step of that way. And they're going to be different. And some of them are going to last a lot longer and be a lot harder than we ever wanted. But that's part of the lesson. It's part of the curriculum.